Hi and welcome to a beginner's tutorial on cloud computing. In this tutorial, we'll be introducing the basics of cloud computing and how it can benefit both individuals and organizations. You'll learn about the different types of cloud services and the advantages of it along with an example we have in the demo section. So stick till the end of the video to see how it all functions. So as usual, we'll define our agenda for today first. We'll get started with an introduction to cloud computing followed by its advantages. Later we'll look at the types of cloud computing and life cycle of developing a cloud-based solution for a business requirement. And at the very end, we'll host a website using AWS services. So let's begin by learning what's cloud computing. Well, cloud computing is the delivery of cloud services, including servers, storage, databases, networking, software, analytics, and intelligence over the internet to offer faster innovation, flexible resources, and economies of scale. You can access cloud computing services through a web browser using your internet connection and a cloud provider, or even through a cloud based application. These services can be used to store, manage, and process data, as well as to run applications and entire IT infrastructures. This allows users to access data and resources remotely and enables organizations to scale their computing resources up or down as required, reducing the need for expensive on premises IT infrastructure. One of the benefits of cloud is its accessibility from anywhere. You can have a developer on the other side of the world and he'll still be able to use your cloud services and log in using just the login console. On top of it, the scalability factor is also something that makes cloud very attractive to adopt. So why opt for cloud computing? Well, let's start by listing those reasons and by comparing on-premise versus cloud computing first. Well, if you're an organization, you will need to set up your own IT infrastructure, and physical servers take space. With cloud, there's no need for you to buy your own servers and maintain them. The cloud is also highly scalable, which means that as your usage grows, you can easily get the required resources on demand, and scaling down is also as easy. Therefore, you end up saving costs and you pay for what you use. It's that simple. This also leads to another point, and that is that you don't need to hire a team to maintain your infrastructure. Well, if you had set up on premise infrastructure, you would need to hire a huge team to maintain all of that. And this is completely eliminated using cloud services. Well, coming on to our next point, with cloud, you have the option to recover data with disaster recovery mode. If you maintain physical servers, there's less chance of data loss, but it still exists. And if you don't continue properly with the backups, the data loss can turn into a critical event. Clouds have essentially turned this into a better way to operate for small or big businesses alike. Also, with clouds, there exists better security protocol, and you have more flexibility in how you want to structure your infrastructure. So you can handle your infrastructure any way you like with ease. Clouds are also easy to set up compared to managing your own infrastructure on site. So the time cloud saves is huge. You can also collaborate less with on-premise infrastructure management. Whereas with cloud, you can have a developer on the other side of the world and they will still be able to collaborate with you. And finally, clouds have automatic software updates. With on-premise, you might have to do this manually while ensuring that your current infrastructure works without problems. Now let's talk about the advantages of cloud computing for a minute. Well, obviously, cloud computing is cost effective. You only pay for what you use, and the scalability factor really makes cloud a very attractive choice for businesses with ridiculous amount of traffic. Next, cloud providers also have large data centers with many servers and resources that are designed to handle a high volume of data and traffic. This means that cloud-based applications and services can run faster and more efficiently than those that are hosted on premises. Additionally, cloud providers often use advanced technologies such as content delivery networks, often called CDNs, to distribute data and resources to users based on their geographical location, which can further speed up the access to data and applications. This can be especially beneficial for businesses or organizations that serve a global audience as it allows them to deliver content and services to users faster and regardless of their location. Another advantage of cloud computing is high accessibility. With cloud computing, users can access their data and applications from anywhere with just the internet connection. This means that employees can work remotely and businesses can serve customers and clients from multiple locations. This brings us to another advantage of cloud computing, and that is it eliminates the need for expensive on-premises hardware. With cloud computing, organizations can access computing resources remotely through the internet and don't have to invest in maintaining or upgrading the physical servers, storage devices, or other hardware. Cloud services are also typically easy to set up and get started with, as they often come with pre-configured templates, and many providers offer simple web-based interfaces, making it very easy to create and manage resources. All of these factors contribute to the ease of implementation of cloud computing, making it a very convenient and accessible option for businesses and organizations of all sizes. Now, let's look at the types of cloud computing. Well, to categorize cloud computing, you can differentiate them between two types. First is the deployment type, and the other one is the service model. Under deployment type, you can say that you have three types of cloud computing, and that is private, public, and hybrid cloud. Under service model, you can say that cloud services are of three types, which is SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, which stands for software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service, respectively. So, under the deployment model, the first type of cloud is the public cloud. This is accessible to the general public and doesn't have any sort of restricted access. Public cloud is a cloud computing service that is provided by a third party provider and made available to the general public over the internet. Public cloud services are typically provided on a pay as you go or subscription based model, allowing organizations to only pay for the resources that they use. A private cloud is a cloud computing environment that is dedicated to a single organization, and that means that it is built and maintained by the organization itself or by a third party provider who works on behalf of the organization. A private cloud provider offers many of the same benefits as public clouds, such as scalability, cost effectiveness, and accessibility, but with added security and control. The organization has full control over the environment, including the hardware, software, and networking components, and can configure and customize the environment to suit its specific needs. Private clouds are often used by organizations that have a strict security or compliance requirements or that handle sensitive or confidential data. They offer more control over the environment, which means that organizations can better ensure that their data and resources are protected. They also offer more control over the environment, which means that organizations can better ensure that their data and resources are protected. Now, coming on to a third type of cloud, which is the hybrid cloud. A hybrid cloud is a combination of a public cloud as well as a private cloud, where some resources are hosted on premises and some are hosted by a third party public cloud provider. Hybrid clouds allows organizations to take advantage of the scalability and cost effectiveness of public clouds while maintaining control and security over sensitive or confidential data and resources that are kept on premises. Hybrid clouds allows organizations to use public clouds for services which are non-sensitive in nature. This can help organizations to keep sensitive data and applications more secure while still taking advantage of scalability and cost effectiveness of public clouds. Hybrid clouds also allows for flexibility and ease of integration, as organizations can use the same tools and technologies to maintain both on-premises and cloud-based resources. This can simplify management and make it easier to move workloads between the public and private cloud as needed. Hybrid clouds also allow for better disaster recovery, as data can be replicated between on premises and cloud resources, providing an additional layer of protection in case of a failure in the on premises system. Now, let's look at the types of service models in cloud computing. Software as a service. This service model provides access to software applications over the internet, typically on a subscription based model. SaaS providers typically handle the maintenance and upgrades of the software, as well as the underlying infrastructure. Example of SaaS providers includes Salesforce, Microsoft Office 365, and Google G Suite. Now, coming to our next, which is the platform as a service. Well, this service model provides a platform for developing, running, and managing applications without the need to maintain and manage the underlying infrastructure. PaaS providers typically offer a range of tools and services such as databases, development frameworks, and analytics that can be easily integrated and used to develop and run applications. Examples of past providers include AWS Elastic Beanstalk, Microsoft Azure App Service, and Google App Engine. Now, coming on to a third service model, which is infrastructure as a service. This service model provides virtualized computing resources over the internet, including servers, storage, and networking. Organizations can use EAS to provision and manage their own IT infrastructure without having to invest in and maintain on premises hardware. Examples of EAS providers include AWS, Microsoft Azure, and the Google Cloud Platform. And here you can see some of the leading cloud providers. AWS has the highest market share in cloud space, but Google is also entering this space. Alibaba has also made a stride in the cloud computing services a few years ago, but as of now, the three main giants in cloud space are undoubtedly Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services, and Microsoft Azure. And now, let's look at the life cycle of developing a cloud computing solution for a problem. First is that the problem statement is dissected to define the purpose of the solution. This involves breaking down the problem statement into its individual components and analyzing how the problem will be solved. The next step is to define the hardware requirements for the problem statement. It is important to have an infrastructure that is fault tolerant and is resistant to high incoming requests and process them well. Then comes defining the storage requirements. This is responsible for data storage and ensuring that backups occur so that we don't run out of space. After it, the networking aspects are taken into consideration. It is critical to create a proper channel so that everything is connected and functions well. And this also needs to be addressed, the security. It is one of the most important steps. As cybersecurity jobs have increased over the past few years, there is a reason for it, as there have been more and more attacks on the companies. And these cyber threats needs to be addressed by restricting access and maintaining how authentications are done. Because if we lose customer data or company data to hackers, it makes a big dent in the company's image globally or wherever they may operate. Then we define management processes and tools to see what is going on and how everything is functioning. Later, we test the processes. We build the solutions, highly test them, and ensure that errors don't occur. And after quality controls are passed, we deploy the solutions built. And finally, we analyze everything using analytics and improve the processes further while reducing the cost as well. And now, let's move on to the demo section where we will host a website from files downloaded from S3 bucket. This problem actually comes from the problem statement that goes something like this. A person wants to transition to cloud. How does it do it? This is one of the most common yet intelligent questions, and we will see how we are going to do this. So the person needs to transition to cloud. And for this, they will need one server, which means that one EC2 instance will be required. And whatever data they may have, let's suppose that that is stored in the S3 bucket. So what we need to do is we need to load the data which is stored in the S3 bucket, which is supposed to be the old data that the person wants to transition to the cloud, and load that data into EC2 instance. So here, what we are gonna do is we'll start by launching our instance first. So if you haven't logged into your AWS console, just go to your AWS management console and go to EC2. Now here, I'll provide it, let's say I provide my server the name ed1 server. And now for the OS type, I'll just select the default, which is Amazon Linux. Now I'll just go down and I'll select in the key pair. Now for the key pair, I'll just be using my old key. And if you haven't created a key pair before, you can just do that by clicking on this button right here. Now for the network settings, I want to allow the HTTPS and HTTP traffic from the internet. Now with all of that done, let's launch our instance. Now, while our instance is launching, let's understand what we need to do. So as per the problem statement, the data that needs to be transitioned to cloud needs to be stored in the S3 bucket. So here I have my Amazon S3 buckets, and in that I have this website dash samples dash one. And in this bucket, I have stored some HTML files, as you can see here. So what we need to do is that we need to load this HTML files and make that just available on the EC2 instance that we just launched. And now that we have a success message, let's see our EC2 instance. Now for this EC2 instance, I'll be using MobaXterm to just log into it. Now you can also use PuTTY, but I tend to use MobaXterm because it has a lot more features than PuTTY. So let's wait for it to load. And here I'll just click on the sessions button and let's select SSH because we want to SSH into our instance. Now let's select this instance ID, and what we need to do is that we need to copy this public IP address. So let's just copy this, and in the remote host I'll just paste this, and for the specify username I'll just provide ec2-user. Now what we'll do is that we'll load our key here. So let's do that. And I have a previously created key pair, so I'll just use that. And after everything is done, let's say session name should be server, customize tab. I'll select pink, and yeah, let's hit OK. So by doing this, what we are essentially doing is that we are logging into our instance. So this instance that we created right here, now we have logged into it. So the first thing that we need to do is that we need to install Apache server on this because we want to host a website. And for that, we need Apache. So to do that, what we'll do is we'll install HTTPD service, which is basically Apache. And for that, I'll just type in sudo su so that we become super user. And if we type in who am I, it should say root. And now let's install Apache. So yum install -y httpd x86 _64. Now this should install Apache here. Now that it's complete, what we need to do is that we need to start the service and we need to enable it. And I'll do this by typing systemctl start httpd service, and then I'll enable this. And with that, what should happen is that you should now be able to go to this. So what we'll do is we'll just open this address, and now we should be greeted with the Apache page. Yeah, so that's it. Here we go. So this is the test page that we get. And if you are able to see this, it means that Apache is working properly. So now what we need to do is that we need to load this HTML file onto our instance. So to do that, what we need to do is first of all, we'll need to create an IAM user so that we can have programmatic access for this. So to do that, let's go to IAM. And under IAM, we'll create a user with the permission to programmatically access. Until we do that, let's type in the command AWS configure so that we can control our AWS right from the console. And let's create the access key and the secret key. So here, let's add in the user. And let's provide it a name, space manager or something. Let's hit next. Attach policies, and what we need to do is we need to provide the policy of S3 full access because we are going to be downloading data from it. And let's create this user. So let's click on the space manager user, and what we'll do is we'll create our keys. So under security credentials, I think we should be able to do that. So here we'll just click on create access key, and let's choose CLI. Now hit on next and create access key. So here we get our access key and we'll load this into our instance. And as you can see, I have typed in AWS configure previously. So now for the secret key, and with that we should be done. So now for the final portion, what we need to do is we need to copy the data from here and load it into our Apache server. And the way we do that is by typing in AWS S3, then we'll sync in the data, and then I'll provide it my bucket name. Afterwards, I'll just load it into my Apache location. And with that, it should be done. So it says here that download was complete, etc., etc. So now let's go on to our Apache page again and let's hit enter. And as you can see, the page that we had stored in the S3 bucket has been loaded. So now we can also navigate to the sample2.html file by typing in, just provide a slash here and then type in sample2.html. And as you can see, the second page is also loaded. So what you can essentially do whenever such a problem arises that you want to transition to cloud, you can just download all of your data to the S3 bucket and then load it onto your instance that whichever you are running. And with that, the session is concluded. I hope that you feel more comfortable with cloud computing now and can make the jump to learning more and more about it. And if you have any queries or suggestions or anything, do message us or leave a comment down below and we'll get back to you at the earliest. Thank you.